Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK Journey video. In this video we're going to talk about EVIE. Should you pull her now or should you wait and see a while longer? Now first of all we need to talk about the Frieren and Himmel collab banner being so close to this EVIE rate up. Basically it means most people have already blown their resources on the collab heroes because Frieren is absolutely demolishing Dream Realm. She's also amazing in PvP, and so a lot of people are investing into Frieren and eventually plans of even, Supreme plus Himmel. And so resources are really at an all-time low for the player base right now, meaning that rate up heroes have to probably not be pulled. However, if you do have resources and you're considering it, that's what we're going to be talking about. But overall, I can tell you the good news is that, in my opinion, EVIE is going to be a skippable hero, and you can put her on your wish list after her rate up banner ends. We're going to explain why that is my opinion, but I do think she is a safe skip, so it's fine. Spend all your resources on Frieren and Himmel. It's a one-time thing. Their banner is never coming back, and they are, well, Frieren at least is very meta, and Himmel for some comps the support is really needed. Okay, so what is EVIE's role? EVIE has debuffs in her kit. She also has a pretty massive damage reduction onto the enemies, which is 35% damage reduction, which increases the survival of your team. She also has an attack buff from her Foretold Favor, 20% attack buff, and this will actually be onto 2 allies when you have her up to Supreme Plus. And her debuff for basically magic defense shred is going to increase magical damage sources from your team. Now that is really EVIE in a nutshell. She also has healing in her kit, and she begins the battle basically completely untargetable, and she will be analyzing the weakness of enemies, and she can prolong this state by having ultimates casted on your team. And really, for EVIE to get her full value, this is the problem with EVIE. She needs to have the enemy team grouped up and having her jump right in the center of them, because then she can actually analyze their weaknesses and get intel on them in just like 5 seconds into the match and have all of her debuffs maximally applied, and that is really how EVIE gets her full value. Now the issue with that is when we talk about her in different game modes, like for bosses, that's fine, because in bosses, there's only one target, generally speaking. She's going to activate her debuff as rapidly as possible. She has a defense shred, she has the attack buffs in her kit, and she has the damage reduction if that survival is important. But the problem when we talk about bosses is that actually doing enough? Now her attack buff of 20% attack buff, honestly, it's fine. However, unlike heroes like, for example, Hugin's shield, when it goes off onto your damage dealer, also gives an 80 haste buff. The attack buff of EVIE is only just an attack buff. There's no additional stats being buffed, and so that is one limitation, of course. On top of that, the thing is, magic defense shred, I mean, in Dream Realm boss content, generally you're using true damage for pre-endless, and you're using HP loss damage in endless. Her magic defense shred is completely useless for both forms of those damage, because reducing magical defense of the enemy is only good for magical damage sources from your team. But it doesn't affect true damage, it doesn't affect HP loss damage at all. But it does affect like your raw magical damage, and you have true damage healers like Shimura, like Sylvan. They have also magical damage in their kit, so definitely EVIE's debuff is going to provide some value, but is limited value because it's not amplifying your true damage, right? Which is the major form of damage for boss content. The damage reduction is nice, basically debuff causing the enemy to deal less damage to you. For bosses, like if there's survival issues, like in pre-endless Dream Realm, definitely that could be an angle. If there's survival issues in any other boss in the future, there's some angle there. However, yeah, these are basically what I'm trying to say is EVIE's kit is good as a buffer slash debuffer, but is it exactly enough to basically warrant a slot on your team for her, rather than other great heroes we have like Twins, we have Hugin? Because really, when you're talking about Dream Realm or boss content, she has to compete with other supports who are doing a lot of things as well. She's definitely not going to compete with twins, so it would have to be competing with Hugin, competing with something else. So that is still going to be the thing we will have to see. Can she replace any other supporter on your Dream Realm comps or in any team? Honestly, I think the fact that she is only providing a 20% or maybe 28% with skill power attack buff and then magical defense shred, that is not, in my opinion, is not really enough. Now, for pre-endless Dream Realm, you know, when you are going to be relying more on raw damage rather than even true damage or HP loss damage, you're always relying on true damage. But like, you know, when you're at the beginning of a new season, that might be one time where EVIE may have the best chance of shining with the magical defense shred. You're using just raw magical damage dealers. Potentially, I can see some angle there for Dream Realm. But that's very niche, right? And in Ravaged Realm, I just think that, you know, when we look at the teams, for example, Aurora Squad, we now have Freewa and Himmel both in Aurora Squad as well. So what usually it was happening right now, the meta on VN server, is Freewa and Himmel on team 1, and then you have to run Hugin. And I just find it hard to believe EVIE is going to replace Hugin, or even if she does, it's probably not going to be a major score gap. They're probably going to be like a side grade. And I honestly don't know. I don't see how necessarily Hugin will be replaced, but who knows. And then Sonya is there to buff attack. And Sonya buffs up attack all in all more than EVIE does. So I don't think Sonya will be replaced. And then there's like a tank to basically provide the heroic party buff from Himmel. And Himmel's heroic party buff also increases stats. So I could see it maybe, you know, giving up on the hero party buff of Himmel and just forgetting about the tank in that team and run EVIE and Hugin both in the same team with Sonya. Maybe. However, even if that is the case, I just don't think the score difference is going to be enough to warrant building a hero on raid up banner. Because probably, like I'm seeing EVIE as probably more of a side grade for boss content as of right now. And obviously, this is just pure speculation because there hasn't actually been the testing that's done. We'll have to see it on VN server tomorrow if EVIE is at all useful. But there is always a chance EVIE could be on the team 2. If you're using a triple light bearer team on team 2, use EVIE there. I can see it, definitely. But again, probably not going to be massively score gapping in Ravaged Realm. And then not enough of a reason to actually like build. Now, when we talk about the other game modes, we have AFK stages. So from players who did testing of EVIE and AFK stages on Pioneer server, they didn't find her very good. They thought that she really lacked, you know, the potential, the potency of other heroes which you normally use in AFK stages. The fact that like her magical defense debuff is not enough, and many AFK stages you face, you are not going to instantly activate all of your debuffs because the enemies are not going to be grouped up. So, like, I mean, EVIE is just making you fight a 4v5 while she's gathering intel on all of these enemies. And, like, that is just not what you want in AFK stages. Like, EVIE doesn't get her full value until she's gathered all the intel. And so, like, the only real way I think AFK stages could be useful is in those specific AFK stages where they have grouped up enemies. EVIE is immediately able to get her debuffs off. Then I can see some potential there. But if she has to go one by one onto all enemies, making her team fight a 4v5 for like first 30 seconds of the match, I just find it really unlikely. And like the thing is, even though she has massive magical defense shred, even when you talk about AFK stages, what do you use to kill enemies? You use true damage, whether it be from an artifact, whether it be from a Sylvan, whether it be from like Saida's, that's HP loss damage. So like the magical defense shred, even for AFK stages, high deficit pushing, is not beneficial because the game relies on true damage and HP loss damage. Those are the kings of damage types. Magical defense shred only helps raw magical damage, which is the weakest form of a damage type that we have. Right, so that is the thing. So AFK stages, I do think it's going to be difficult to actually pull her off or maybe even be worthwhile, you know? And definitely, I do not see her replacing a hero like Valara or maybe even Sleaze, because the thing is, Valara gives your whole team an attack buff that benefits true damage. EVIE does give attack buff, but it's not as much as a Valara's attack buff. Also, Valara decreases the health of enemies, decreases the defenses of enemies, all amplifying your team's damage. So I think that honestly, I don't see EVIE replacing Valara or Sleaze, and like, you know, you don't want to run too many supports in a Dream Realm comp. You're already basically running Hugin, Valara, and then, you know, like sometimes twins even. Like, how are you also going to run EVIE into the comp? There's just not enough spots. So that is really the thing about EVIE. Now, when we talk about the final game mode, which is PvP, the problem with EVIE is a problem we have with Sylvina and Vala. Why do we never see Sylvina or Vala, at least on defense, is because it is so easily counterable. If you see an EVIE on defense and you actually have the power to control, like, you know, if you're a regular arena, supreme arena, like, we're not talking about clash runs, because then you cannot, you know, you're not targeting, and then it's all kind of, matched, auto battling matched. So there's some potential there. But like for regular, when you're actually targeting an enemy team, if you have an EVIE on defense, all you'll do is you'll just put one isolated target, like, you know, who's one tile away from everyone else, to take the first intel research of EVIE, and then EVIE is not going to complete all of her research until like 30 seconds into the match, and by that point the whole enemy team will be dead. Because if EVIE cannot gather intel onto all targets quickly, she's just not bringing enough to the table. And so this is the problem with EVIE. Like, I know obviously there's going to be some way to use her install comps and really, you know, clash runs, you know, when you don't have control over who you're targeting. But like the amount of basically setup and kind of like trying to work around her to make her even at all useful, it's just too much that it's not really worth it. And the thing is, right, now that EVIE exists, I'm gonna make all of my Clash Runs teams, all of my Supreme League, if that is also gonna work in the same way, because that's the new PvP tournament game mode, by the way, guys, if you didn't hear about it, but that should be coming next season. But basically, you'll just plan all of your teams, position them in a way so that they're not all grouped up. Like, if the whole team is not grouped up, even if you have like 3 isolated allies, EVIE is still going to take 20 plus seconds to actually investigate all of them, and by then you should have won the match. That's their whole game plan. So EVIE can only work in a fully stall oriented strategy where the enemy cannot break through you, and then she has a time to actually research and gather intel. So yeah, I don't know. And for offense, I mean, if the enemy positions poorly, then you can potentially use EVIE, but it's same as Sylvina basically. The only way you use Sylvina is if the enemy positions poorly. If the enemy positions in a way with their Bonnie or their Citrana on tiles which are not symmetrical, and they have, you know, heroes in the back to take, you know, if your Sylvina's jumping in, basically your Sylvina cannot get at the target you want it to, and then it's useless. So it's going to be very similar with EVIE. It's just going to be, maybe you can counter some really like, you know, poorly set defenses which are not, you know, without having EVIE in mind. But basically, when you talk about defenses which have been positioned correctly, EVIE is going to have a very hard time to be used even on offense. So that's the thing about EVIE. Now, overall, let's just talk about some final points. We need to talk about the minimum level of investment for EVIE. So, minimum investment for EVIE will be Supreme Plus to give her extra Quill to give another attack buff, and also plus 10 exclusive equipment for this other 25% magical defense shred. However, you know, honestly, this 25% is not going to be that big. I think Supreme Plus is more important than even the plus 10 exclusive equipment. Like, Supreme Plus 0 exclusive equipment is honestly more important than having like Mythic plus 10, because 25% more magical defense shred, you already have a high amount of magic defense shred. You don't need that bonus 25%. Like, it might make some difference, but like we said, you know, if you're using her for boss content, it's going to be true damage and HP loss damage dominated, like even if we're talking about Ravaged Realm. And so it's just going to be a Supreme Plus to give another basically 20% attack buff to another carrier on your team. That's basically going to be the only thing that you want. So Supreme Plus 0 exclusive equipment, or like really if you want to min-max, Supreme Plus 10 exclusive equipment. And that's why I currently have my EVIE at. My EVIE is currently at Supreme Plus 10 exclusive equipment, because that is like, I am not planning to ever take her higher than this, honestly, because I guess one good thing is that her attack buff scales on her target. Oh, we didn't even level this up. Her attack buff scales on her target's attack, not on her own attack, so she doesn't need stats of her own. That's one good thing. So like, you know, even just getting her to Supreme Plus, she's going to be attack buffing your carries as much as like a Paragon 4 maxed out crowned EVIE, because it's going to be increasing their attack by 20%, not by her own value. Like Hugin, Gunner, they all increase attack by their own stats, so then their own stats matter. EVIE doesn't, so that's the thankful thing. So you don't have to invest high into her to get her to work. But yeah, now the final thing we can just talk about is her charm quality bonus, because she basically shares a charm quality bonus with heroes like Ludovic. The healing that will then convert into some haste, attack buff, and then also a damage dealt increase. Overall, not a bad charm quality bonus, honestly. Like, 10 haste is nice, attack is nice, and then your damage boosting is nice. But it is minor numbers, of course, but like it is gonna bring value to the table. So, and you're gonna want to run her with skill power. It's very essential that you run her with the skill power, because that is going to increase the attack buff value from 20 to 28%. And basically, you're using her as an attack buff healing bot. That's basically your only job. And the magical defense shred, honestly, like we explained, it's not going to make that much difference to boss content, other than maybe early pre-endless dream realm. So anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful. Let me know your thoughts about EVIE in the comment section down below. Are you planning to recruit for her? Are you planning to skip her? Honestly, I think a lot of people can just safely wishlist her after a banner is done. Use your resources on Freerin and Himmel. They're limited time, and honestly, way more meta than probably EVIE is ever going to be. And yeah, just save your resources for the next big raid up hero, and EVIE, honestly, I don't think is that. So hopefully this video is helpful. Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you're thinking about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. This is the best way you can support me and also gain 5% bonus dragon crystals on your purchase. My affiliate link is in the description of this video and a pinned comment, and you can actually bookmark this link in your browser, and whenever you're planning to make a purchase, just return to the bookmark link and make your purchase. It will support me and be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.